And it was tough. My parents were both. My father was an alcoholic. My mother, both of them were on drugs. They're addicted to crack cocaine, and as a child, it really affects how you grow up. My older sister, she was a lot older and she was out of the house, and my younger brother, I kind of tried to protect him from that. The different things. I remember, there were times when I would find drug paraphernalia in the house, and it became a reality that my parents were on drugs. And, for the most part, my parents both went to work. My father was a truck driver, my mother was a social worker, and it just got to a certain point where everything just came to a head. And I remember one day, I was in 5th grade, went off to school, kissed my parents goodbye, came home from school, the car was gone, my dad was gone, and I didn't hear from him for like 3 years. And that's kind of when things really got bad. My mom kind of spun out of control with the drugs. When you're 11, 12 years old, going through that transition and not having your parents, knowing the drugs are going on, seeing drug dealers in and out of the house, it was traumatic. But for me as a child growing up in that, it was rough. And I had a lot of demons, kind of even when I was in my professional career. There were times where I would hit points and, I'd be depressed. And I was going through different times, and I was like, why am I feeling like this? Why am I insecure? Why am I not, I'm in the NFL, I'm successful, I'm playing. Like, why don't I have any self-esteem? I don't have any feeling of self-worth. And it wasn't until I went and saw someone that I kind of dug those skeletons out and figured out that I was angry at my dad. I was mad at my mom for these different issues, and they came out. And ever since then, ever since I saw someone and sought out help, it's really helped me face those demons and grow as a person. And guys, instead of sometimes seeking help, sometimes guys start smoking marijuana. Sometimes guys start drinking. There's the strip clubs. There's certain things that you get to try to mask that pain that you're feeling, because as an NFL player, I can't show pain because I lose my job if I show pain. So we're trained to do that, and we're trained not to ask for help.
You talked about all the lessons you've learned. You've had some phenomenal coaches. Herm Edwards, right?
Yeah.
And can you speak to a little bit? What did you take from that, or
I've had a lot of great coaches. Even through high school. My high school football coach John Hook, my basketball coach Terry Reed. They were the ones that were there for me when everything was going bad in my home life. They understood what was going on. They knew my mother was going away, but they helped me focus on football. They helped me focus on school, graduating, doing the right thing, because they saw potential in me. And when I think about all these coaches, they helped develop me into a man. They're big brothers, they're father figures. My dad wasn't around, so that's who I leaned on. Going to college, Mike Price was my coach. He was a great man, taught me a lot of values. And then getting drafted by Herm Edwards and the Jets, that was the ultimate blessing for me. Herm was a former player, a guy who's passionate about football. He's passionate about helping develop men. So while a lot of the lessons that we learned from Herm were about football, most of the lessons were about life. Coming out of the tunnel the first time, and it was a beautiful day. They had the Jets flying over the stadium. The crowd was crazy. I just remember just looking around and just being thankful and hearing the national anthem and literally just having tears down my eyes. Wow. Just having, I just was overcome with emotion, because I was pumped up for the game, but then I started reflecting on where I came from.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, man, I'm not supposed to be here. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I didn't deserve it, but what are the odds that I'm a boy from Spokane, Washington, who grew up, I grew up with some good people. I did. But grew up in a troubled home. My parents did what they could to make us have a good life. But to make it to the NFL and to be starting, I was just overcome with emotion. I was crying, and then as soon as it was done, I went back to being tough, being the tough guy and fired up. And I remember playing that game and going through, and I'm playing against Chad Johnson and T.J. Hushmanzada,
Chad Johnson,
Peter Ward, all these guys who were
Ocho Cinco, right?
Yeah, Ocho.
Were you on?
So,
Wow.
So during that game, I remember tackling these guys and being like, oh, okay, I could do this. You know what I mean? And then we were up by 2 touchdowns, I believe, probably about 4 minutes left in the game. I'm guarding Chad Johnson in the slot. And
Wow.
I'm covering him, and I'm like, yeah. He runs a route. He's going deep. I turn around and start running. I see Carson Palmer throw the ball. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get it. And I'm running with Chad Johnson, and all of a sudden he jumps in front of me, dives, and catches a touchdown. And it broke my heart. I was like, man, I was looking around like everybody hates me in this stadium. There's like 75,000 people here. Everyone's like probably thinks I'm terrible. My teammates probably hate me. And I'm like hanging my head going to the sideline. And I remember Sean Ellis, he grabbed me. He was like, hey, Rook, get your head up, man. He said, this ain't the last time you're going to get beat for a touchdown. Like, they get paid too.
That's a life lesson too.
He's a great player. You know what I mean? You're going to get beat for touchdowns. Your job is defensive back. You're going to play some pretty good receivers in this league. It's the best of the best. And he's like, we're going to need you. Get your head up. Like, you're going to be fine. And so I kind of put my head up, and everybody patted me on the butt and, you know what I mean, said, pick your head up. So now we're up for a touchdown. Cincinnati gets the ball back. And who are they going to go to? They're going to go right at the rookie who just gave up a touchdown. And so I'm guarding Chad Johnson again. They run a corner route, which is, you run up about 10 yards and run towards the outside pylon. They throw the ball deep again. I cut in front of it, jumped in front, got the interception, sealed the game for the victory.
In your first game?
My first game.
Holy
It was like a roller coaster. I got up, I was celebrating, dancing, with my teammates. My first game, I got an interception, and I was partying, and it was such a great feeling. It was about the highs and the lows, and it just gave me a lot of confidence. Like, man, you could do this. Like, you deserve to be here. You deserve to be in this league.
So for anybody who is not a football fan, you could parallel that in that game. Talk about life lessons.
Yeah.